What if we had even more Ultra Beasts? That's right, to celebrate this spooky season, I tasked my Discord community with drawing brand new Ultra Beasts of their own, imagining new entries in this extra dimensional, fearsome canon of Pokemon that we somehow haven't seen in 9 whole years. Despite Pokemon iterating a whole lot as a franchise since then, Pokemon like Guzzlord, Celesteela, and Kartana remain uncanny and memorable because of their expressionless faces, deadly details, and gargantuan sizes that few other Pokemon possess. So to help my viewers with brainstorming new Ultra Beasts of their own, I provided 4 prompts that were simply codenames: UB Static, UB Haunt, UB Marine, and UB Cosmic. Artists were then tasked with interpreting the prompt by picking one out of the 4, and imagining what an Ultra Beast with that codename would look like. And well, here are the astounding results from over 50 artists across the Tam Valley community. I'll be going through all the entries in no particular order, save for my favorite entry at the end, and the quote-unquote winner of this particular prompt in this art challenge, for lack of a better term, who I was most impressed by and will introduce with a wee bit of storytelling based on the Pokedex entry, lore, and other information the artist provided, almost like a bit of an indirect artistic collaboration. Without further ado, let's get into the UB Static entries. First up is Frequenine from the artist Tint, who imagined this Pokemon, a Steel and Normal type Ultra Beast inspired by gramophones and vintage record players, taking the prompt static literally, as these old audio recordings are inseparable from the distinct pops, hisses, and crackles that sound when you play them, due to the built-up static electricity on the discs and the needle going over imperfections like scratches or dust. Tint imagined a toothy mouth taking the place of the gramophone, almost like this Pokemon is a worm-like entity burrowing in a stone, but it emulates the shape of its real-world inspiration really nicely. The great thing about Ultra Beast designs is how they have a lot more leeway than your average Pokemon to do something like this, like be so on the nose with a more inanimate or artificial body plan. Tint explains that these Pokemon communicate in the form of static, occasionally picking up frequencies that they broadcast when they come here through the wormhole. Could be stray radio signals, like music or even human voices. Imagine that, this thing roaring at you and it's just fragmented radio signals. That's super creepy. So props to the artist for nailing that imagined horror of encountering this Pokemon. Something that I obviously wanted from this challenge, so well done. The artist Dingus gave us Zetendril, imagining a Pokemon kinda similar to Xurkitree, but lurking in another dimension similar to the Ultra Deep Sea. This jellyfish or squid-like Pokemon would lurk in pitch-black waters and use electricity, the artist's interpretation of the static prompt, to either light up their surroundings, perhaps luring in foes like real deep-sea animals, or zapping foes that they prey on. It's nice to see at least one more organic-looking Ultra Beast for this prompt. I certainly like when they look monstrous or even artificial, but it's cool to be able to connect it to how a real-world animal or even standard Pokemon would move or behave, because it's just that familiar yet otherworldly. I guess uncanny is the right word. Hairlappin is the UB submitted by artist Skunky Spinda, a completely different take on a mosquito from Buzzwole, this one being more parasitic like a true mosquito, said to reside on the body of other UBs and around the same size as Joltik, sapping their energy with the needle-like siphons. I suppose the artist interpreted the static prompt to mean the limb numbness and the paralysis that affects hosts when they're afflicted by this parasitic creature, which is pretty creative. The body plan of this Pokemon is also very unique, and it kind of reminds me of Kokopelli, the god from Southwest indigenous mythology, which is said to be somewhat of a trickster god, so I'm not sure if that was intentional or not, but either way I like it. Artist Jack of all trades gives us Vespacifist, a bee-like Pokemon distinct because it doesn't learn any attacking moves, according to the artist, a contrast to its inspiration in the Asian giant hornet, notably aggressive animals in real life. So I always like the trope of an enlightened being that's so intelligent that it almost transcends life as we know it, like Dr. Manhattan or something like that, as this Pokemon is said to forego all biological functions like battling or even eating. Definitely contributes to the unknowable cosmic horror that makes Ultra Beasts so memorable, since it can be so hard to read them. We got another gentler, or at least stoic-looking Ultra Beast with Purifini from the artist Komoko, a Pokemon that reminds me of Chimecho, seemingly based on Buddhist or Shinto shrines, monks and items used in purifying rituals to cleanse bad spirits away. To be honest, I am not sure how this fits into the static prompts, but I would love to hear your interpretations. I do definitely like how it leans into its origins and has body parts like ribbons and metallic bronze hoops or ornaments. It feels so familiar to our world and our cultures, yet is just different enough that it feels kind of like long-lost alien technology, or ones from another dimension, something we couldn't possibly hope to understand. Another example of leaning into the cosmic horror feeling. Like, this Pokemon is just so hard to decipher or communicate with, and frightening for that reason, not because they're physically imposing. And next is Vamplifier from Gym Leader JC, leaning more into modern technologies like power cords and neon lights, since this bat-like Pokemon is also parasitic in nature, feeding off electricity using its prong-like tail in lieu of fangs. I absolutely love this one. I think it leans the most into what Ultra Beasts do well. Deliver very familiar outlines of humanoid body parts or real-life animals, like you can clearly see what it's based on and what it's going for. Yet, when you peer into the closer details, it lacks any way to emote as a normal living being from our dimension would. Where there should be eyes and teeth, this Pokemon has a glowing helmet-like faceplate. Where it should have more muted colors and some fur, it has a sleek, plasticky body with neon segments. This is where Ultra Beast designs excel, giving us something that feels familiar at first glance, but upon further review is just hopelessly incomprehensible. This design would have been my favorite UB static design, if not for the final entry, which I decided I would create a short horror story to introduce, based entirely on the details provided by the artist along with their submission, before revealing the submitted artwork like these other ones. This is actually something I did for each favorite submission of this challenge's 4 different prompts, so stay on the lookout for the next one in a few days, as we go through the entries for UB Cosmic, Haunt, and Marine, of course. But to cap off this video, here's a tale introducing a frightening encounter with UB Static.
Okay, it's 12:47 a.m. I'm recording this because I need proof I'm not losing it. One of the CRT sets went missing a few nights ago, just gone. The cord was still here, clean cut, like it melted through. I got an earful from the boss, but that's not even the worst part. The last few days, the lights keep flickering, and the air feels charged, like standing under a power line. There's this buzzing that isn't from the TVs, but from everywhere. Every few minutes, a high-pitched tone hits and my head starts pounding. Customers said they felt it too before we closed. For the life of me, I can't find the source. When I leave the TVs on too long, the static makes faces? I know how that sounds, but it's real. I'll walk by and I'll see a hand or a faint smile. Or sometimes I just hear voices. My mom's, my brother's, saying things they said to me this morning. But it's not them. It's like the TVs are broadcasting my own memories. There's no way anyone recorded that. Oh, it's worse near the back wall where the set disappeared. The Pikachu plushes keep twitching, and when I touch them, I get shocked. Like the air's alive with static. There! There! You see that? The lights spike every time I move towards the switches. Like it knows. Like it knows it's coming towards them. Wait. It just said my name. No. Look at the screens. Faces! They're crawling, pulling powers from the others. It's real! It's real!
And here we have my favorite UB Static submission, one that inspired me enough that I decided to write a little audio drama to introduce it. Here's Ultra Beast Noxel from the artist T. Ace Juice. As you can probably guess, this Pokemon is said to slip into our world as a radio signal from a dimension rife with tons of electrical signals, or as the artist described it, a quote void space where it feels like a thunderstorm of television snow is never ending. Very evocative. So when it's in our world, it inhabits old technology like CRT TVs, which it mistakes for its own kind, and then it uses the screens that it inhabits to emote or even attack, kind of like Rotom in the way it slips into household appliances. I just love how the artist illustrated the TV as plain static, like this would be its default, but it could slip into a frightening face if it wanted. Also, it's neat how it looks both like a physical monster with ruffled fur, but it's also spiky like a thundercloud all at once. I can't even begin to make out what material this Pokemon's makeshift body is truly made out of. And as I mentioned, I'm just such a sucker for Ultra Beasts that get to play up that unknowable angle. Ultra Beasts are a great genre of Pokemon designed to get away with things that regular Pokemon just never could. And this Pokemon is just frightening enough to pull that off, while still looking true to the franchise in my opinion. For all those reasons, this was my favorite UB Static submission. So congratulations TA's Juice. And with all that, I hope to see you in a few more days for the next of these 4 prompts. As I said, I will be doing a similar showcase and short story for the winning submission for each of them, to release between now and Halloween. And if you want to participate in a future art challenge, which I'm sure to announce later this fall, and have a chance to get your art featured on the channel where I can discuss and react to it, well, go join my Discord with the link in the description right down below. Contests are very easy to take part in. All you gotta do is be part of the Discord and get notified when I announce them, and these are open to both seasoned and beginner artists. All are welcome. Thanks to all participating artists and to all patrons, especially Guardian patron KuroBlitz. As I said, I'll see you in a few days for the next batch of Ultra Beasts.